Discover the amazing truth. 5 transformative actions to change your destiny forever. Emily Adams stood behind the counter of the diner, the late afternoon sun filtering through the greasy windows. The familiar clatter of cutlery and soft chatter of customers pierced her thoughts. But today, a heavy weight pressed against her chest. 2 teenagers at home, an endless juggling act between bills and well-being. When did life become such a relentless cycle of survival? Every day, the days of routine consumed her, leaving little room for the flicker of creativity she once nurtured. In whispers to herself, she pictured the vibrant canvases of her youth, the colors dancing in her mind, the brush gliding over surfaces. But pursuing those childhood passions felt like reaching for something forever out of grasp. The diner brought in just enough to keep the lights on, the groceries stocked, but each shift felt more like a chain than a lifeline. A hollow gnawing in her gut warned her that she had traded too much. If only her heart had been stronger, braver. By the time dinner service ended, her tip jar was hardly half full, a reminder of the struggle never far from reach. As she picked up the crumpled bills and coins, her phone buzzed against the counter. She looked down, her heart racing at the sight of an unknown envelope lying beside her unopened mail. Dust danced in golden beams from the window as she tore it open. The words inside blurred momentarily. It was a letter informing her of a dilapidated family property left to her from a distant relative. What could she do with a ramshackle house? Sell it for a quick fix to their financial woes, or gather the strength to restore it, perhaps cleaning the cobwebs of her past? Doubt ignited within, a flicker of hope mingling with fear. Would it be a blessing or a burden? At that moment, Rachel's dreams of a vibrant city life echoed through her. Knew that the last thing her daughter needed was another dead-end project. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As she contemplated the decision, her thoughts spiraled. What if Rachel left town? What if stepping into the past meant losing sight of the future? The remnants of her late father's voice echoed in her mind. The grit and armor of resilience. Yet with every passing day, she found herself stifled within those values. Adrift between loyalty to her children and an old flame of creativity rekindling within her. Her fingers traced the edges of the letter as anger rose at the trivial small-town whispers. What would folks think? They would say. Another pipe dream? The grip of judgment tightened around her. But as heavy tension hung in the air, something flickered. Perhaps the house was more than a burden, it could be the canvas for her next chapter. Emily felt the urge to reach out, to talk to someone who understood the weight of dreams. Mr. Thompson, her old art teacher. His support could validate everything swirling in her heart. But would that mean she would have to face the worst aspect of herself? The frightened, aspiring artist who had been suffocated? The door home flung open in her mind's eye, but it could push Rachel further away. As midnight loomed, the uncertainty gripped tightly, leaving her fingers trembling at the thought of what came next. Would she seize this second chance or remain shackled to the mundane? The echo of a knock suddenly jolted her from her thoughts. Something new and possibly devastating awaited her on the other side. Emily steadied herself, every muscle tensing as she approached the door. In that brief moment, the anticipation morphed into a cocktail of exuberance and dread, the kind that sent shivers down her spine. She hesitated, hand resting on the knob. Who could it be? The weight of the world seemed to rest on that thin pane of wood, and as she opened the door, her mind spun with possibilities: good news, bad news, or something in between. Standing before her was a figure from her past. Mr. Thompson, her art teacher, looked exactly as she remembered. A disheveled mop of silver hair, round glasses perched on a nose that appeared eternally curious. His smile was warm but laced with concern. "Emily," he said softly, as though trying to measure the weight of her many burdens in that moment. "Hello, Mr. Thompson," she managed to say, her words strangled by the anxiety coiling in her throat. She invited him inside, the comfortable chaos of the diner fading behind her. The comforting smell of frying food and burnt coffee was replaced by an unsettling familiarity that had haunted her since her artistic ambitions faded away. They settled at a small table, the shadows deepening in the corners of the diner, mirroring the shadows in her heart. "Your letter caught my eye," he began, voice steady yet probing. "I'm here to see if you need help. I know times have been tough for you." Hot shame pricked her skin, and she quickly glanced away. "I don't know what to do with it," she confessed, her voice barely rising above a whisper. "The house, it feels like a reminder of everything I didn't accomplish." Mr. Thompson leaned in, his gaze intent. "Sometimes we exist in patterns that box us in. You have a choice to reclaim that space for yourself or let it dictate your life." His words struck a chord, reverberating against the walls she had built, walls she now dreaded. "What if my children think I'm just being foolish?" She shot back, frustration simmering just below the surface. "What if I fail again? Failure is merely a stepping stone," he countered, unmoved by her protest. "Every artist faces the blank canvas, faces doubts, but they must also face their fears. If you don't try, you will never be free." A flicker of determination ignited within her. Could she really confront these fears? The thought of the old house took on a new form in the depths of her mind. She envisioned it as a sanctum for expression, not just a tired relic. "What if I want to restore it?" she found herself saying, the declaration rolling off her tongue before she could process the full weight of the sentence. "What if I actually want to paint again?" A smile cracked Mr. Thompson's stern facade. "Then you need to dive headfirst into that chaos. Use your doubts as fuel rather than shackles." His encouragement felt electric, sending ripples through her spirit. But could she summon the courage to confront her past, her decisions and her children's opinions? Their conversation shifted toward the practical aspects of the estate, what needed fixing, how it could be transformed. It was energizing to talk about it, to feel the enthusiasm build with each word exchanged. Yet, the specter of her responsibilities still loomed large. Emily leaned back, the weight of uncertainty still tangling in her chest. "What if they think I'm chasing a pipe dream?" "Then let them think that. Show them what's possible," he urged, his voice firm with conviction. "Sometimes the greatest lessons come from the hardest challenges," he added, a glimmer of hope binding their conversation. With that, Emily felt a resolve settling within her. She could reclaim a part of her life that she allowed to wither. Her heart began to beat in rhythm with newfound possibilities, each pulse pushing the doubt aside. But just as exhilaration replaced anxiety, a familiar voice echoed through her mind. Rachel's laughter, tinged with skepticism. Could she really embody this newfound strength, or would it ultimately lead her and her daughters astray? The question loomed, heavy yet compelling, setting the stage for a confrontation not just with her children, but with herself. As Mr. Thompson rose to leave, he patted her shoulder with an encouraging smile, whispering, "Remember, Emily, create without the fear of judgment." As the door closed behind him, the weight lifted momentarily, and adrenaline surged, but reality crashed back in. This choice could redefine her role as a mother and an artist. With the letter crumpled in her grip, Emily found herself at a crossroads again. Would she grasp this possibility or let it slip away to the echoes of what could have been? Outside, the world spun on, unaware of the reawakening brewing within. A tremor of anxiety surged beneath her bravado, whispering that the moment was not far where she would have to lay bare her ambitions to her daughters. Would they share her excitement or deem her reckless? The night deepened, a constellation of anxiety and hope binding her thoughts as she contemplated her next steps. It was time to dig deeper, to paint the choices to come with the bold strokes of a vibrant future. Tomorrow would demand courage she was still untested for. But first, what awaited her in that rusty old house? What secrets might unravel? And could they lead to the life she had just started to dream of? The dawn broke with a muted light filtering through the grimy windows of Emily's diner, illuminating the scattered remnants of the night before. She woke to a sense of urgency brewing beneath the surface, a call to action echoing in her bones. Memories of her conversation with Mr. Thompson replayed in her head, each word igniting a deeper desire to confront her fears. As she washed her face, the splash of cold water felt like a jolt, snapping her from hesitation. The reflection staring back was someone she barely recognized, a woman cloaked in uncertainty, yet simmering with potential. It was time to shake off the remnants of defeat, to redefine herself not just as a mother, but as an artist and individual worthy of her own ambitions. With a renewed resolve, Emily made her way to the old house she inherited, a structure that seemed to breathe with stories untold and dreams deferred. The dilapidated exterior only heightened her excitement. It was a canvas begging for restoration. Standing at the front door, she hesitated again, the threshold a chasm filled with doubt. What if the memories within were too potent, too painful? But then she recalled Mr. Thompson's words, whispered encouragement that stung like both an itch and a balm, a reminder that within chaos lies creativity. Breathing deeply, she pushed the door open. Inside, the shadows of the house seemed alive, swirling with dreams she had almost forgotten. Dust motes danced in the air, and the once familiar rooms flooded her with nostalgia. Each step echoed, bouncing off the faded walls and awakening the artist buried inside her. A flicker of hope ignited with each creak of the floorboards, nudging her to explore the depths of what this place could become. In the kitchen, she stood before the frayed remnants of her childhood, the chipped table, the cracked windows. Her heart ached for lost moments, but then it surged with possibility. This kitchen could be a sanctuary where aromas mingled with laughter, a space where memories were made anew. With newfound determination, Emily retrieved her phone and began documenting her vision, snapping pictures of each room, envisioning color palettes, layouts, and inspiration boards. The artistic part of her brain ignited like fireworks against the backdrop of her revived self. She would transform the space, but not just for herself. She wanted to involve her daughters in the restoration process. It would be a shared journey, a testament to resilience, growth, and the beauty of creating together. As she worked, doubts crept back in, each thought heavier than the last. What if Rachel dismissed her aspirations as frivolous? What if her daughters saw her new pursuit as an inconsequential dream? But the urge to express herself began to overshadow the impending doubts. The thrill of the unknown fueled her courage, and with each brushstroke she imagined, walls of uncertainty began crumbling. Emily found an old paintbrush while rummaging through decades of lessons learned and forgotten memories. Holding it felt like reclaiming a part of her identity long buried under motherly responsibilities. She painted its handle, chipping away at the layers of neglect. It was a small act, yet it symbolized a gradual resurrection not just of the house, but of her spirit. However, questions lingered like thick fog. How would her daughters react when they saw this new ambition? Would they share in her excitement, or would they pull back, dismissing the effort as an expedition into delusion? As twilight descended, shadows crept along the walls of the empty house, curling around Emily like a gentle embrace, coaxing her deeper into introspection. She could no longer remain in this in-between state of yearning and paralysis. The time had come to engage them, to lay bare her plans and ambiguities, to prove that she was not just chasing a pipe dream but inviting them on a new path of discovery. The weight of anticipation settled in her chest. She could feel it in her veins. A confrontation awaited, one that could either bind her family through shared creation or fracture their perception of her. With a determined glint in her eyes, she resolved to face her daughters tomorrow, to unveil her vision and perhaps rediscover the voice she thought silence had taken. But for now, as night cloaked the world outside, Emily stood amid the remnants of her past, ready to forge her future. Would her daughters embrace her transformation, or would it ignite deeper conflicts? The question hung heavy in the air, waiting to be answered. The sunlight of the next morning pierced through the grime on the kitchen window, casting flickering shadows on Emily as she gathered her thoughts. Today was not just about repairs to the house. It felt monumental. She prepared a simple breakfast for her daughters, the aroma of pancakes merging with the sense of renewal she felt deep inside. Each sizzle on the griddle resonated like a reminder of her commitment to change. As Rachel and Lily shuffled into the kitchen, groggy and still brushing sleep from their eyes, Emily felt a rush of vulnerability. It felt different this morning, knowing she would share her renewed ambition. Yet a knot of apprehension tightened in her stomach. How would they perceive her newfound passion? Would they support her, or see only a desperate woman clinging to unrealized dreams? Conversation at the table started slowly, rich with the comfort of routine, but Emily's mind raced. The weight of her words loomed over her like a storm cloud, ready to unleash a torrent of revelation. She planned, she rehearsed, silently engineering a path to bridge the years of silence that had grown between their aspirations and her hope. "Mom, what's wrong?" Rachel finally asked, concern deepening her brow as she noticed the tension in Emily's demeanor. The simple question pierced the cocoon of hesitation that enveloped her, tossing Emily into a moment of clarity. "Can we talk about something important?" The gravity of her own voice startled her. She took a breath, grounding herself in the moment before pushing through. "I want to show you both something special." With a determined stride, she led them through the front door and past the threshold of the crumbling old house. The structure, though worn, held a spirit that resonated within her. They stepped inside, the dust swirling like captured memories. She pointed toward the kitchen, glowing in the morning light. "This place is full of stories, and I don't just mean the past," she began, pulling out her phone and displaying the photographs she had taken. Color swatches and design inspirations splashed across the screen like vivid fragments of her dreams. "I want to transform it, and I want you two to be a part of this." Silence engulfed the room, heavy with thought, as Rachel studied the images while Lily wandered toward the corner where the old paintbrush stood propped against a jar of faded paint. Emily watched their reactions closely, their expressions mirroring the uncertainty she had felt. "What do you mean, transform it?" Rachel asked, her voice tinged with a mix of curiosity and skepticism, a look that Emily had seen far too often in discussions about her past pursuits. "It's not just about fixing things. It's about making this place a home again, where we all create, laugh, and make new memories together." As Emily spoke, passion colored her words. She began to envision them working side by side, messy hands painting vibrant walls, laughter filling the air while they faced challenges together. Lily turned, backing away from the old paintbrush, her gaze fixed on Emily. "Are you sure, Mom? Aren't you just going to get tired of it, like before?" The familiar sting of doubt from her daughter struck deeper than anticipated. Emily held onto the edge of the table, steadying herself against the tidal wave of doubts she hadn't anticipated. Before her daughters stood a woman wrestling with self-doubt, yet also fueled by a fierce resolve. "No, this time feels different. I'm not just doing this for myself. I want you both to see that we can create something beautiful as a family." Her voice wavered, and she pressed on. "I believe we can dive into these dreams together, or at least, I want to try." The glimmers of hope in her daughter's eyes began to wane under the weight of skepticism, just as helplessness trickled back in. She felt the ground shifting beneath her, the family dynamic threatening to pulse with resistance. As conversations fell silent and thoughts shaped the air around them, Emily suddenly realized this was not merely a revelation, it was a battleground for trust, growth, and potential rejection. If they shared in the journey, it could bind them closer than before. Or, if the response was cool, it risked pushing them further apart. Determined to engage further, Emily leaned forward, ready to fight for her vision, ready to face their doubts, ready to confront her own demons of inferiority. A flicker of determination ignited within her. What if we create a project list together? Something that excites each of us? At that moment, the door swung open and the distant sound of a child's laughter drifted inside, a stark reminder of joy outside her walls. Emily felt renewed focus. She was on the cusp of a pivotal moment, every heartbeat thundering with the urge to bridge the chasm between aspiration and uncertainty. What was left to reveal in the shifting dynamics of her family's response? Would they venture into this creative journey with her? Or would they retreat to the safe shadows of their previous routines? Emily's heart raced as she awaited Rachel and Lily's response. The echo of her own fervor seeped into the air, wrapping around her like a warm blanket. But as ready as she felt internally, the uncertainty in her daughter's eyes was a chilling reminder of her past failures. She took a steadying breath, determining not to resist the stirring of their opinions. Rachel was the first to break the silence. Her brow furrowed in deep thought. You really think we can make a difference? We've never done anything like this together. Emily noted the subtle challenge in her tone, a mixture of hope and skepticism that made her feel both inspired yet vulnerable. I believe we can, Emily replied, pouring conviction into her voice. Let us start small. We can paint a room, do some gardening, or even design our own furniture. Our creativity together can rejuvenate our home and us. Lily, still watching from a distance, finally stepped forward, her youthful curiosity sparking twinkles in her eyes. And you promise you won't just stop halfway through, right? I don't want to be left painting a wall alone while you get busy with something else. It was a reasonable apprehension that clawed at Emily's heart. It reminded her of times when excitement fizzled into silence. This time, I will commit for us, with all my heart. I want us to build something lasting, she assured them, deciding to convert her uncertainty into an emotional anchor for this endeavor. Pushing the lingering fears aside, Emily suggested a family meeting that very evening. They would formulate a project list, a visual testament of their involvement and commitment. The prospect filled Emily with bubbling anticipation, but the knot of fear remained. What if they didn't share the same passion? As the day passed, thoughts of the potential project consumed Emily. She pored over design blogs late into the night, jotting down ideas and cultivating images of what the house could become. Each new detail she discovered, from vibrant paint colors to light fixtures, seemed to kindle a flicker of inspiration not just for the home, but within herself. Yet, the next day a surprise visit from an old friend, Clara, caught Emily off guard. Standing at her doorstep, Clara was vibrant, exuding a confidence that made Emily self-conscious. They had lost touch after Emily's marriage fell apart. Clara had, in many ways, been the friend Emily always wished she could be, but felt she'd never live up to. Emily, your house is calling for a makeover. You've got it in you. I know that for sure, Clara remarked, her enthusiasm almost overwhelming. Emily felt both inspired and intimidated. I don't know, Clara. What if I'm setting myself up for disappointment? Emily admitted, vulnerability creeping in again. Clara's eyes, however, sparkled with understanding. You won't know unless you try. You've always had a talent for creating beauty. I've seen it before. This could be your moment. The words stung with both inspiration and an unsettling familiarity. Emily had always wanted to bask in Clara's confidence, and here was an opportunity to reclaim her passion. Still, she wrestled with an internal battle. If she embraced this chance, could she bear the potential fallout? Would she truly commit? As Clara left, Emily gazed around her home, her fingers traced the wear on the walls. She could envision vibrant spaces full of laughter and creativity. But self-doubt lingered. How could she be sure this would be different? That evening, as she sat with Rachel and Lily, she finally dared to lay it bare. I'm afraid, frightened of not being enough. But I need you both with me. In that confession, Emily felt a weight lift, even as fear clung desperately to her thoughts. From the glancing looks exchanged between them, she caught a glimpse of sympathy, mixed with the challenge she had longed for. Let us prove that we can do this, Rachel said decisively. We'll lean on each other. And just like that, they dove into brainstorming, mapping out their project list. The energy in the room shifted. It felt palpable. They began to weave personal elements together, from painting their favorite colors to infusing meaningful decorations. But as her daughters embraced the possibilities, a chilling voice from the back of her mind cautioned, "Can you really follow through?" Yet Emily knew she was ready to confront that nagging fear. For this was more than a house, it was a path to rediscovering who she was meant to be. And as fresh resolve began to bloom within her, the doorbell rang again. Curious, she opened the door to find the neighborhood handyman standing there, a question in his eyes. Heard you're looking for help with renovations. What's the project? Her heart quickened again, a mix of excitement wrapped in apprehension. Would she share their vision, or retreat behind the shadow of her doubts once more? Her answer hung in the air, waiting to be revealed. Would Emily embrace this opportunity to take ownership of her destiny? Emily's mind raced with possibilities as she stared up at the handyman, his casual demeanor contrasting sharply with the storm within her. The question hung there, heavy with implication, both inviting and daunting. "We're transforming our home," she finally uttered. The words tasting like a leap into unknown waters. He nodded, his interest piqued. "Sounds great. What's your vision?" The moment felt pivotal, as if she was standing at a crossroads. Emily took a breath. Here was a chance to claim her intention, not just as someone participating in a project but as a leader. This could be a moment of reinvention not just for the house, but for herself. But could she articulate it? "We want to embrace vibrant colors and create a space that feels alive. I want my daughters to feel inspired in their own home," she said, heart pounding as she felt Rachel and Lily listening closely, their curiosity bridging the gap between trepidation and excitement. "Do you have a plan?" he asked with a warm smile that evoked a measure of trust in her heart. "Not yet," she admitted, "but we're working on it." At that moment, she realized that admitting uncertainty wasn't a weakness, but rather a demonstration of authenticity. "But we definitely need help." "All right, I can help you brainstorm ideas or draft a rough plan. When do you want to start?" His enthusiasm sparked something deeper within Emily, a growing belief that it was okay to ask for support. Rachel and Lily exchanged glances filled with hope, and Emily breathed in their energy. "Let us meet tomorrow afternoon. I'll have a list of our ideas ready," she said, feeling a resolution take root within her. As the handyman left, Emily felt lighter. A weight she hadn't realized was there beginning to lift. She turned to her daughters, their eyes glowing with a shared sense of purpose. "We're doing this together, right? No backing out halfway, I promise." Lily jumped in. "Can I choose the colors? I want something bright and sunny." "Of course, but let's narrow down our choices tonight together. We can lay it all out," Rachel added, her previous skepticism fading, replaced by the joy of participation. Hours passed as they dug into the task at hand. Sketches were drawn, magazine clippings scattered across the table, and laughter echoed around the room. Each brush stroke of color, every decision made, drew them closer together, reinforcing the bonds that had felt stretched and fragile since the divorce. Emily hadn't felt such a sense of accomplishment in years. It wasn't just about paint. It was about breathing life back into their home and into themselves. Yet, a creeping doubt reminded her that this was merely the beginning. The fear of failure lurked just beyond her periphery, ready to corrupt the joy they were crafting. What if the project overwhelmed them? What if they lost interest? Suddenly, in the middle of her thoughts, a resolute clarity emerged. She recognized that growth stemmed from discomfort. The fear of incompleteness existed alongside the chance for success. The very act of creating meant learning to dance with that chaos. "I have an idea," Emily said suddenly, her voice steadying as she looked into her daughter's eyes. "Let us keep a journal about this. We can document our progress, our thoughts, even our challenges, and see how we transform together. It can be a record of where we started, of our growth." The room buzzed with newfound energy at the suggestion. "Can I decorate it?" Lily asked, her hands already moving in the air as if sketching whimsical designs. "Absolutely," Rachel agreed. "I want to write down our challenges and how we solve them. That way we won't forget how far we've come." Underneath that shared fervor, Emily felt a quiet but profound realization. She was no longer defined by her past failures. Instead, she was forging a new identity, one rooted in resilience, creativity, and a commitment to her family. That night, as she tucked in her daughters, she found herself reflecting on the steps ahead. What else could they tackle together? The excitement bubbled within her, but so did the fear that still whispered in the back of her mind. The next morning brought with it uncertainty and promise. What would the first splash of paint feel like against the walls? How would it shape the atmosphere of their spaces? As she stood before the walls that had witnessed both laughter and tears, a poignant question formed in her mind. Could this process not only change the house but also reshape our family dynamic? With determination swelling inside her chest, Emily set out with her daughters, ready to embrace the challenge. Little did she know, The upcoming choices would force her to confront even deeper layers of her identity. Was she truly ready to face what lay beyond the thresholds of their home? The answer, much like the paint on their walls, awaited its first daring stroke. Emily stood in the middle of the living room, her heart racing as she looked around at the walls that seemed to close in on her. It was time. She could almost hear the echo of her daughter's laughter reverberating through the empty space, urging her forward, but the weight of her insecurities tugged at her resolve. "Okay," she said, grounding herself by digging her fingers into her palms. "What do we want this to feel like?" She wasn't just preparing for an aesthetic shift. She was getting ready to redefine not only the home but their lives as well. Rachel was busy sketching ideas on a notepad, while Lily had her head buried in color swatches, her enthusiastic chatter painting a picture of happiness. Emily felt a spark of pride as she watched them. They were embracing the process, and for the first time in a long while, she felt an overwhelming urge to channel her inner leader. But at the same time, self-doubt crept back in. What if she led them astray? Swallowing hard, she approached the girls, who were lost in their world of creativity. "Let us take a moment to think about what we really want from this," she suggested. Rachel nodded, curiosity replacing her previous focus. While Lily's sketching paused, the crayons poised like tiny soldiers awaiting orders. "Okay, I'll go first," Emily said, needing to assert herself. "I want our home to represent us, who we are and who we want to become. Can we have a space for everyone to create?" Rachel asked, her excitement bubbling over. "A nook for my art, a cozy reading corner, maybe?" "Absolutely. And a place for you to do puzzles." "Lily," Emily added, her spirit lifting with each word. They were starting to visualize it together as a family. However, the nagging voice inside her head reminded her that dreaming was one thing. Execution was another beast entirely. She felt the weight of responsibility, the urge to deliver on their shared vision. Each stroke of paint meant passion and commitment, and failure loomed ominously over her thoughts. "Let us write down what we want as a declaration," Emily proposed, her voice taking on a newfound firmness. "This way we hold ourselves accountable." The idea sparked enthusiasm once more. Lily bounced in place, grabbing for crayons to illustrate their goals and dreams. They crafted a vivid representation of their hopes, with sketches intermingled with written words. But as they delved deeper, something unexpected loomed: the realization that each of their aspirations carried intertwined fears. Rachel's dream of an art space echoed Emily's trepidation about limiting her daughter's creativity and potential, while Lily's innocent desire for vibrant colors reflected Emily's own yearning for brightness in their lives, a stark contrast to the muted shades of the past. As they defined their shared space, a wave of self-awareness washed over Emily. This wasn't merely about changing walls. It was about rebuilding their family's foundation, woven together through shared dreams and articulated fears. How much of herself had she tucked away for the sake of routine and safety? "Can I add something?" Rachel piped up. "What if we put a limit on how much we argue about things we can't control, like colors or ideas? I think it'll keep our energy positive." Emily's heart swelled. The suggestion revealed an unexpected level of maturity in her daughter, signaling to her that perhaps her fears had been exaggerated. "You're right, Rachel. Let us write that down too." In that moment of clarity, Emily felt the pieces clicking into place. She wasn't just mom. She was an equal collaborator in their family dynamics. Their home renovation became a metaphor for their journey, echoing the larger narrative of transformation in the face of adversity. By the late afternoon, they stood surrounded by bright sketches and lists filled with aspirations, and Emily understood this moment of creation was merely the tip of the iceberg. What awaited them beneath the surface was a tumultuous sea of challenges, fears, and growth. She shivered at the thought, a mix of exhilaration and anxiety coursing through her veins. Just before they settled into their journal writing, a thought struck her. What if this project awakened a new identity in all of them, one that unleashed past burdens and looked boldly toward their future? When dinner time approached, Emily's mind tumbled between the mundane and the imaginative. Would she truly be capable of navigating the waves of family tension that could arise as they undertook this creative endeavor? The The stakes felt palpably high now. This wasn't just about a beautiful home. It was about redefining their lives. As the flicker of dusk swept through the house, leaving long shadows in the corners, Emily lingered over uncharted territories awaiting her. What if she had to confront aspects of herself she'd chosen to ignore? With her heart racing, she clutched her journal, intent on exploring the truth of who she had become and who she aspired to be. Tomorrow would be about more than just paint and patterns. It would be about revelation, confrontation, and the doorways into their tangled pasts. And as she took a deep breath, she couldn't shake the sense that she was on the cusp of something monumental. Would they plunge into the depths of this transformation together? Or would old patterns rise to the surface once more? The morning sun poured into the living room, illuminating the sketches and notes they had created. Emily sat at the table, feeling the warmth wash over her. It was a new day, and with it came a fresh resolve. The weight of the previous evening's contemplation lingered, but it fueled her determination rather than held her back. Today, she would lean into the discomfort of transformation and fully engage with both her daughters and herself. The familiar sounds of breakfast preparations filled their small kitchen, a symphony of clattering dishes and cheerful banter. Rachel had already made a start on a new drawing, her pencil racing across the page. Lily, ever the spirited one, was bouncing in her chair with excitement about their plans for the day. "Mom, can we start painting today?" Lily asked, her eyes shining with the eagerness of possibility. Emily considered the question. "We could, but let us take a moment to think through how we want the whole process to go first. I want this to be something we all enjoy and learn from." Rachel looked up, intrigued. "Like a plan?" "Exactly. A plan that includes our fears and how we'll handle them. We need to keep ourselves accountable while we create," Emily stated, her voice steady. The idea struck a chord within her. Accountability was what she craved not only from her daughters but from herself. An honest evaluation of her own intentions began to unfold. She needed to acknowledge her own fears about this journey. "Let us talk about what might go wrong. We could argue over colors, or maybe we might get tired of planning. What do you think we should do if that happens?" Emily suggested, framing it as a collaborative problem-solving exercise. Lily's little face scrunched in thought. "If we argue, we can take a break. Or we can draw what we feel." "Yes, drawing it out could help," Emily encouraged, impressed by her daughter's insight. Rachel chimed in with a soft yet firm tone. "We can also write down our worries, and then we talk about them. It's like a safety net for our feelings." The conversation opened a portal to deeper reflection. These weren't merely house projects. They were life lessons manifesting through paint and paper. Each word exchanged felt grounding. Emily's doubts began to dissipate, replaced by a burgeoning confidence that perhaps she had been underestimating her own instinctual wisdom. "Okay, train of thought, let us write our worries and strategies down. Just like our hopes," Emily suggested, pulling toward an old habit of organizing chaos. She quickly found notepads and pens, crossing the threshold of her anxieties into action as they wrote together. Emily felt something shift within her, a tangible feeling of unity and openness that had been absent before. They recorded their hopes, and alongside them, their fears. The juxtaposition was enlightening. Each challenge detailed served as a bridge toward their aspirations. As the morning slipped away, Emily's mind raced with thoughts. Could they truly handle the potential tensions that might arise? She questioned whether she was ready to confront moments of frustration without faltering. However, the recent experience had armed her with new strategies. It became increasingly clear that her leadership was not about having all the answers, but fostering an environment where fears could be expressed and heard openly. Her heart surged with anticipation at the possibilities that lay ahead. This wasn't just a renovation. It was a resurrection of sorts, a reclaiming of the family dynamics that had long felt stagnant. "Let us take a deep breath before we begin the painting. We've prepared ourselves well. Ready?" Emily's heart raced, not with fear, but with a newfound determination. "Ready," the girls chimed, their voices bursting with enthusiasm as they stood together. The canvases of their lives ready for vibrant strokes of color. She felt a ground of empowerment surging within her. They were poised for true transformation, But what challenges would they encounter amidst the chaos of creation? Emily's eyes darted to her journal once more. Awareness. Dawning that the real project was not external, but an excavation of the heart. What truths would emerge when they began to paint the walls and their souls? The sun climbed higher, casting cheerful beams that danced across the newly acquired canvases laid out on the dining table. Emily held a paintbrush, its tip dipped in vivid turquoise, as she regarded her daughters. Rachel, with her quiet precision, chose soft pastels, while Lily splattered exuberant blobs of color, as if chaos could itself paint a masterpiece. Emily paused, her grip tightening around the brush, the weight of expectation settling on her shoulders. The scene felt vibrant, yet a small voice within nagged at her, a whisper of self-doubt. What if her initial enthusiasm waned once the real work began? She took a deep breath, pushing those thoughts aside, redirecting her focus to the joy radiating from her children. All right, let's outline our ideas. What do we want this room to express about our family? She suggested, infusing her voice with confidence that she hoped would reflect back on them. Rachel's brows furrowed in thought, a clear indicator that her sister's exuberance clashed with her analytic nature. Maybe we can represent our personality traits? Like a colorful tree that shows how we each branch out differently but still come from the same roots. Yeah. And our roots can be our favorite memories. Lily chimed in, her excitement almost tangible. Emily felt her heart swell with pride. They were already beginning to engage in the exercise she had envisioned, transforming abstract thoughts into a collective endeavor. Yet apprehension gripped her again, this time over her role in keeping the peace and fostering creativity. What if we don't know how to make our tree? Rachel asked, breaking Emily's reverie. That's a great question, Rachel, Emily replied, taking a moment to recall their earlier discussions on fears and solutions. We could start simple. Let us draw a rough sketch and just see where it takes us. If we don't like it, we can change things around just like in life. The hesitation in Rachel's gaze began to lift, replaced by a look of determination. Okay, but we might need to work on parts separately if it starts to feel overwhelming. Absolutely, Emily nodded, impressed by her daughter's self-awareness. And remember, if we feel stuck, we can always step back and draw out what we feel, like we discussed. They each began sketching collaboratively and independently, the air thick with concentration. As Emily painted, she felt her brush stroke take on a life of its own, a movement that mirrored her emotional journey toward authenticity and acceptance. Each stroke was a meditation, unraveling years of fear and self-doubt, but along with it, she found clarity in how deeply their lives had intertwined. Just as Lily demanded vibrant pink splashes representing her love of adventure, Emily hesitated. The act of creating had unexpectedly been therapeutic, a space where fears transformed into revelations. But beneath the vibrant colors and magical blending lay the pressing question: how would she navigate a situation when they disagreed on their creative expression? As if reading her thoughts, Rachel expertly painted a green leaf, sharing, "Mom, what if we argue? I don't want to ruin this." The atmosphere shifted. Emily caught a glimpse of the self-imposed expectations she had clung to, needing to maintain harmony, to shield her daughters from disappointment. Yet this journey was not solely about progress. It was about embracing challenges together, even when that included discomfort. "We would manage by talking, like we practiced," she said, her voice firmer than before. This wasn't just a project. It was a declaration of vulnerability. They pushed through until fatigue started setting in, the studio once bursting with lively discourse quieting down. The ambience shifted, each individual thought expanding into silent introspection. Would they trust each other when their emotions ran high? Emily looked at her daughters, the canvas littered with unexpected surprises, taking in the chaos as part of discovery. But still, a question whispered in her mind: how would she reconcile her own insecurities with their needs? While she had fostered a safe space, what would happen when the safety net began to fray? Just as she wondered, tomorrow loomed, bringing with it the unknown, and she couldn't shake the persistent feeling that a storm was approaching. Meanwhile, the last brushstroke of the day hung in the balance, daring her to choose between fear and courage. Would she be able to shield her daughters from emotional fallout? And more importantly, Could she embrace her own transformative truth amid uncertainty? The canvas felt anything but complete. As Emily stood in the middle of the vibrant chaos, staring at the painted walls teeming with color and life, a warm wave of fulfillment washed over her. This was not just a house or a project. This place had become a transformative sanctuary. Each brushstroke had unraveled doubt and reintroduced her to herself, an artist, a mother, and a creator. Today was the culmination of choices made and risks taken. After weeks of hard labor, laughter, and a few not-so-subtle arguments about color choices, the house had transformed from a dilapidated relic into a radiant home. Emily took a deep breath, allowing the fresh scent of paint to fill her lungs, a scent of renewal, of a future still unfolding. Yet the day was more than just an aesthetic victory. It was a reckoning. Emily assembled her daughters in the living room, the echoes of their shared labor swirling in the air. She felt a blend of trepidation and excitement. While they had conquered the physical work, she needed to bridge her own emotional evolution with their budding creativity. It was time for an honest conversation. "Girls, can we take a moment before we step into the next phase?" Emily's voice steadied the room, drawing their attention away from the paint cans and project debris. Rachel and Lily looked up, curiosity mixing in their expressions. "Sure, Mom. What's up?" Rachel asked, setting down her brush as Lily nestled beside her, wide-eyed and eager. Emily gathered her thoughts, feeling the weight of her past decisions and the transformations of the last few weeks coalescing into clarity. "I know this project started as a way to redefine our space," she began, feeling both vulnerable and empowered. "But it's become something much greater for me. I've realized that creating this home together means more than just paint. It's about how we connect and support each other." Lily nodded, enthusiasm bubbling in her voice. "Like a family tree, each branch showing a part of who we are." "Exactly." Emily smiled, grateful for her daughter's insight. "But it also means that I have to admit when I'm afraid or unsure. Sometimes I feared I was failing you both or that we wouldn't follow through on our plans." The air shifted. Both girls exchanged glances. Rachel, perceptively wise for her age, leaned forward. "Mom, if you ever feel that way, you can just tell us. We can't expect everything to be perfect." "I know," Emily replied, a warmth blooming in her chest, "and I promise to be more open about my thoughts. I've been so focused on making this work, I forgot that it's okay to be vulnerable with you." A silence hung for a moment. Then, in that stillness, several emotions danced in the air. Gratitude, love, and a shared commitment to growing together. Rachel finally spoke up, her voice steady with conviction. "We want you to be real with us, too." And just like that, the tension that had held Emily captive for so long dissipated. The fear of inadequacy that had dogged her steps began to evaporate, replaced by a solid confidence born from recognition and acceptance. A spark lit in Emily's heart. She envisioned future avenues of creativity blossoming within this newfound openness, not just for each of them as individuals, but for their family dynamic. "So," she continued, her voice brimming with excitement, "let us commit to an ongoing project, our family journal. We can document our thoughts, our fears, and all the amazing things we create together. It'll be a testament to our journey. For all the good times we're going to have making this house a home." Lily shouted, capturing the energy of her mother's enthusiasm, sparking laughter between them. With renewed vigor, they dove into the heart of their project list, and the promise of future creations fueled their imaginations. They planned not just rooms but moments, family game nights, art sessions, and quiet afternoons filled with stories and love as they sketched and brainstormed. Emily felt her heart swell with pride. She had traversed the depths of her fears, confronting both her past and her family's emotional landscape. Now, from within the vibrant chaos, she stood firmly in the recognition of her worth, not just as a mother or an artist, but as a powerful force shaping her destiny. Within that messy little home, built slowly, carefully, and loving every step, Emily finally achieved what had eluded her for years. A solid confidence and a recognized competence in her role as both creator and nurturer. She was no longer shackled to fear or doubt. She had established her position as an artist in her own right, one who could seamlessly weave the threads of family love and artistic joy together. IT was a moment to celebrate. A real transformational achievement, one vibrant color at a time. They painted their way into a future filled with possibility, so you need to subscribe now to witness more exclusive emotional stories that inspire transformation. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and keep these incredible narratives coming. Comment your reactions and thoughts on this heartwarming conclusion. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this powerful journey of growth and renewal. Don't wait even one more second. You are an essential part of this community.